Tonight, there is major breaking news from the front lines in Ukraine. The long and brutal war has taken a potentially dramatic turn. Russia claims its forces have pushed into a new region for the first time since the initial full-scale invasion. That region is Dnipropetrovsk. This is a significant claim. It suggests a new phase of the conflict is underway. This development could reshape the battlefield. It could also derail the fragile hopes for peace that have been slowly building on the world stage. Dnipropetrovsk is a vital part of Ukraine. It is a major industrial hub. It is home to millions of people. The region is not one of the 5 territories Moscow has previously claimed as its own: Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Crimea. This new push suggests a potential expansion of Russia's war aims. Control of this region would give Moscow a strategic advantage. It would cut deeper into Ukraine's heartland. This is why the news is being watched so closely tonight. The fate of this region could signal the future direction of the entire war. The Russian Ministry of Defense released a bold statement. The truth on the ground is often lost in the fog of war. The truth on the ground is often lost in the fog of war. Reports from the front lines paint a confusing and chaotic picture. While Kiev officially denies any breach, there are troubling signs. Some sources report that fighting is raging for the village of Dakhny. This small community sits right on the border. There are unconfirmed reports that it has already been occupied by Russian forces. These claims are not verified by Ukraine, but they fuel the growing concern that Russia's push is real. The situation remains incredibly fluid. Control of these small border villages can change hands quickly. Independent observers are weighing in. Their assessments seem to lean toward the Russian account. The Institute for the Study of War assessed that Russian forces have indeed entered Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. This analysis lends credibility to Moscow's claims. It suggests that the Ukrainian denials might be aimed at maintaining morale. It is a difficult position for Ukraine. They must project strength while dealing with a dangerous new reality on the battlefield. The discrepancy between official statements and outside analysis highlights the intense battle over information. Further reports detail specific Russian advances. It is claimed that Russian troops have reached the border northwest of Velika Novosilka. In that area, they have reportedly seized the village of Shevchenko. This is not just a territorial gain. Near that village lie the largest lithium deposits in all of Europe. Lithium is a critical resource for modern technology. Its capture would be a major economic prize for Russia. It would be a devastating blow to Ukraine's future economic prospects. This fight is not just for land, it is for the resources that will power the future. The battle for Dnipropetrovsk is becoming a brutal reality. Even if the full extent of the Russian advance is unclear, the fighting is intense. Villages like Zeleny High in Donetsk are also reported to have fallen. This indicates a coordinated push along a wider front. The danger is that Russia could establish a firm foothold. From there, they could launch deeper attacks into Dnipropetrovsk. For the soldiers and civilians, they are caught between advancing tanks and official denials. Their homes have become the newest epicenter of this relentless war. While the fighting rages, a high-stakes diplomatic dance is unfolding. The world's leaders are trying to find a path to peace. Just last week, a crucial meeting took place at the White House. President Donald Trump, President Volodymyr Zelensky, European leaders. The leaders gathered for talks in the White House. This meeting marked a significant shift in the United States approach. President Trump dropped his earlier demand for a ceasefire. He now says talks can happen while both countries are still fighting. This change opens a new, albeit uncertain, door for diplomacy. The White House meeting paved the way for something once thought impossible. President Trump announced a planned direct meeting between Zelensky and Putin. President Volodymyr Zelensky, President Vladimir Putin. This would be a landmark event. Following that, a trilateral summit involving all 3 leaders is on the table. The idea is to bring all parties together to hash out a deal. This push comes directly from President Trump. He is inserting himself as the central negotiator. He believes his personal deal-making skills can end the years-long conflict, but the path is fraught with risk and uncertainty for all involved. However, the American president's vision for peace comes with heavy demands on Ukraine. In a series of public statements, President Trump has pressured President Zelensky. He wrote that Ukraine must formally cede Crimea to Russia. Kiev must abandon its long-held ambition of joining NATO. These are core demands from Vladimir Putin. Trump put it bluntly, President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to. This puts immense pressure on the Ukrainian leader to make concessions he has long resisted. President Zelensky finds himself in an incredibly difficult position. He is dependent on American support, yet he cannot accept a peace that sacrifices his country's sovereignty. He responded to President Trump's pressure with a firm, yet diplomatic stance. He wrote on social media that Russia must end this war, which it itself started. This simple statement underscores the fundamental disagreement. Ukraine sees itself as the victim of aggression. Russia sees the conflict as a defense of its security interests. Bridging this chasm is the monumental task facing these leaders as they inch toward talks. The fighting in Dnipropetrovsk only complicates this delicate process further. The push into Dnipropetrovsk is more than just a battle. It is a critical test for the entire peace process. Russia's advance, if confirmed, strengthens its negotiating position. It allows Putin to come to the table with fresh victories. He can argue that Russia's military is still gaining ground. This could embolden him to demand even more concessions. For Ukraine, it is a disaster. It weakens their hand at the very moment they are being pushed to negotiate. The timing of this offensive seems deliberately planned to coincide with the diplomatic push from Washington. This is why many Western leaders warn against trading land for a fragile peace. The fear is that any territory ceded to Russia will only encourage future aggression.